Hello. If you hear in the background, like right now, really heavy panting, I'm with two French bulldogs. They're adorable, but they really breathe loudly, and so, yeah, you might hear that. I just started this recording, and it's 4:44 p.m. where I am, and I honestly had no idea or did not plan that, so that could be for someone, that number. It's funny because one of the topics that was coming through has to do with the Enochian light language, and that can really be representative of like the angelic consciousness or angelic realms. I know a lot of us who feel connected to these states of remembrance will connect through the number 444. So that feels like a nice alignment, because I honestly am a little bit hesitant to talk about some of the stuff today. I feel like I say that every audio. I'm working through it. Anyway, yeah, that brings me to one of the things that I wrote down. I noticed today, it's a really nice day where I am, and I didn't have like a plan, which is part of most of my life, but I noticed like I was very indecisive today, and I feel like that used to be like my perpetual state. Like, if anyone who knows me personally throughout my life, you can attest that I have known to be very indecisive, and I've really done like a lot of alchemization to work through that. But today I was like, I just was so indecisive, and I was like, where is this coming from? Anyway, I'm just bringing that up because I do feel like a lot of the collective energy that's been coming through, like myself and other people who speak on these topics, the geomagnetic storms or activity, there's been like a ramping up the last several months, and the aurora frequencies coming through in places that we're not used to seeing them. Just these different attention focused. Give me a second, because I want to, it's like there's more people paying attention to this, at least more collectively, and so I feel like there's this ramping up, and I know there's a lot of talk about like quantum leaping and timeline jumping and all these different buzz phrases, I guess you can say. And so if you've ever watched like movies about time traveling, a lot of the people get nauseous or nauseated. That's the correct phrase, correct word, nauseated, I believe, when you're participating in the activity. And it's funny because that's been coming up a lot lately for myself, and again through other voices that are expressing these topics. And so I actually woke up the other day, and I actually felt a little bit of that dizziness, and I do talk a lot about these topics and practice things to engage in such activity, etc. And I found myself like I threw up a little. It wasn't like a crazy experience. I just I just needed to it wasn't, all I had was water and chlorophyll that day, and it was only like maybe an hour into waking up, and I felt instantly better after it happened. I didn't force it. It just kind of came out. It wasn't a lot. I don't know why. I'm sorry if this is graphic, but this is what's coming up. So yeah, someone here might be having that experience where you're practicing, whether consciously or subconsciously, quantum leaping, quantum jumping, timeline shifting, etc. And you may be having those effects. And again, I'm not the only person speaking on this topic, so maybe you've heard this from a few other people, and this, maybe just take this as validation or confirmation. Maybe you tapped into your own, direct connection internally, and you heard this and you weren't sure and you were like, oh, I think I'm making this up. However it is, yeah. So, excuse me, I just burped. Yeah, so when I burp, generally I'm clearing energy. So with all of I had a hair on me that I needed to, it was just tickling my left inner elbow. Well, not the fold, but like the outside. I don't know. So maybe someone right now is going through some like elbow tension or elbow inflexibility. That's coming through. And I remember someone I know, a friend of mine, used to say when hair is like attached to her, like she keeps like feeling like there's hair like in her body, or not in her body, you know what I mean? Like attached to her body, or like she just notices like there's a lot of hair. It feels like there might be like some sort of energy or person or thing like attached to you that you're trying to release, or maybe you're not super aware of it and you're being called to release it. So that could be for someone. I know I actually my voice is saying really funny words, accents, I guess, today. I don't know, funny sounds are coming out, or the way words are pronounced. But yeah, there's something about like I'm pausing one moment. Yeah, there's something about like releasing something that may feel like it's just like still a little bit attached to you. So if you find yourself, like just having like extra hairs that are tickling you, or just like strings. I know these two dogs that I am watching like are destroying these toys pretty quickly, and there's like these strands like everywhere, and I need to keep picking them up. Yes, there's something like that. And this is not like to scare you or like, oh, there's something terrible attached to you. No. It's just like a, energetic hygiene and maintenance. And if you're already doing these things and you're aware of this, then this is just a confirmation that your practices are indeed working. I heard the word efficacy, so that could be for someone. So yeah, let's see. All of the things that I wrote down, if I pause, I may be glancing at some of the things that I wrote down, but I was guided to put on, this is super, super random, or not. I was guided to put on, in case if you hear that noise in the background, it's actually a subliminal for winning the lottery. And I'm not like actively trying to win a lottery or anything, but one of the topics I wanted to talk about that keeps coming through in different ways for me over the past like it's like waves of information that come in about this topic. The last couple years, last couple months, like it comes in and out, and I'm not sure that I've actually spoken on this exact thing yet, but we'll see. I honestly can't remember, at least like on YouTube. So yeah, winning the lottery, the subliminal. There's something, I don't know why I was drawn to put that on, and there's a bunch of $100 bills on the like cover, and like numbers on, obviously like on bills, there's like long numbers. And I wanted to talk about fire letters, and I'll go into that in a moment. But they say subliminals imprint the subconscious mind and bypass the conscious mind to have a different result than you're used to having, or to bring about something you're trying to anchor into your reality. And there's this connection, again, if you're trying to win a lottery, maybe this is just like a confirmation for you, or if you're trying to like win something, or not even just win, but if you're trying to like anchor in something from the ethereal realm into said reality, there's this, interesting, in the background of this subliminal, there's like these circular, almost like they look like light orbs, and then they have this like connection of very light golden lines that are making up some like triangles and different patterns. And so yeah, I'm hearing the web of consciousness, and the word filament is coming through. So I remember, again, if I already had spoken about this in a different audio and you've heard this, you can skip forward. But I wasn't even planning to talk about this today, but I remember I looked up at the sky one night, and I was at this like full moon festival thing. It wasn't a festival, it was like I guess you can say like a full moon ceremony. This was a couple years ago. And I had done a microdose of psilocybin. And I was already experiencing these things without psilocybin, but it was just, a little bit more enhanced, I suppose, with all of the people that were together and like, setting intentions to have these experiences, and with the microdose, etc. And I remember I looked up at the stars, and there were all of these, like when we look at I'm still clearing through my throat if you can hear that. Ooh. There were all of these, like when we see constellations depicted on like maps and posters and stuff, they have like the lines that connect them, and that is called a filament. So I saw that like in real time. I looked at the sky. There were just these beautiful like faint white golden lights or stars that were connected through these filaments, these lines. And I remember looking up at it and hearing the word like communication. Like there's always this connectedness or interconnectedness or web of consciousness communication, kind of like when we talk about the mycelium network and the mushroom networks that are always communicating to each other, or the roots of trees when they're underground, you can't see it, but there's always this interconnectedness communication. And the stars, it was the same thing. It was like, and then I felt like connected to that, it's like dialed into that frequency of connectivity to these like star filament network communications. I need to take a breath after that one. So anyway, all that to say, I now know there was a deeper reason why I wanted to put this subliminal on, and perhaps there's something maybe like a deeper underlying motive or intention or something type of communication that's coming through. Maybe let's say you made a wish to, I don't know, win lottery or know more about your internal being or whatever it is. It's like there's something that's going to maybe be coming to the surface in a way they're not realizing. So like you may be drawn to do something and like you're not sure why, and you get that intuitive nudge. Whether it's like a craving for a food, like all day I've been craving empanadas and I don't really know why. And so I went out of the house to go find an empanada. I didn't actually get an empanada, but I was just like going to these different places, and like I felt like there was something that was pulling me around. Connected to that. So yeah, there would be like an inkling or a nudge or an intuitive pull, and you may not know why, and I'm here to just like follow that because you don't know where it's going to lead you, which is part of the excitement. But yeah, anyway, all right, let's see. So the number 31 I feel like has been following me and haunting me, and I just realized it's one of my really good friends / clients. Like that's her number. So if she ever listens to this, you'll know who you are. But yeah, I swear I wasn't even thinking of that in the moment, and I wrote that down. I've just been seeing that number. So if anyone's listening to this and you want to share, like you can Google, if you're not familiar, like angel number 31 or metaphysical meaning of a number, numerology meaning, etc. You can share that. But I just heard in my head like auspicious opportunities that are starting to flow to you. So that could be like, seeing the number 31 could be kind of like just something that appears along the way to show you that you are in alignment with calling in some sort of opportunity that you would like to experience. And I also wrote down 1144, and then I put brackets around 144 because I've been seeing variations of like 1144, 144, 411, different combinations of that. And I know there's a lot of talk now about the 144,000, so you may feel connected to that. I was going to say soul group, but I heard gene pool, which is interesting. Gene meaning Gene, not like jeans. Although maybe some of you are wearing jeans, that could be relevant too. I'm in Florida right now, so I have not worn jeans in a while. But I actually kind of miss wearing jeans. So yeah, I don't know. That could be for someone. Anyway, there's something about... Oh, now my nose is going crazy. My nose just started to itch. Usually when my nose itches, I just looked at the timer and it was 16:00. Oh, hi, Lemmy. I know. Oh, the dogs with me are Lemmy and Luna. You may hear them again. They really want to play right now. Well, they're playing with each other, but they're like right behind me. Anyway, so what was I saying? Let me get back to this. Oh, okay. Yeah, so 144,000. My nose started to itch when I said that. Yeah, there's so many different like translations of what that number means, and of course, however you feel connected to that is, well, just perfect and great. So, I guess what I wanted to add, for me, it always felt like some sort of like, I know these words can get thrown around, but like a vibrational frequency of consciousness. So I don't think, and again, this is just my personal connection, I don't always feel like it's like a number of people, especially with all the different layers of multidimensionality that we all encompass. Like some people feel like there's, embodying more than one soul in a body. So I don't know that it's like a person or like a number count, like, individuality of 144,000 people. Because there's so many people coming in and out of transition, like when they say like consciousness never dies, it just transitions. But there's people leaving this realm all the time and coming into this realm and awakening and then not awakening. So to me, yeah, it doesn't really feel like a number of people necessarily, but more of a... It's like 1111, it's like this number that is encoded to one of the purposes, I believe, of 1111 is like awakening. And I feel like 144 is this like expansion into a consciousness of like unconditional love, of remembrance, of, service to the unconditional love template of yourself, which then, kind of runs through the collective. So it's like a double mission in that way, like you're giving to yourself in the highest form that you can so that you can show up and also be in service of something higher than yourself, into that interconnected web of consciousness. And that can show up in many ways, like, like I was talking about earlier, through the actual planet itself and all of its being and multidimensionality in that way, and then also into the celestial bodies and the cosmos. And if you want to go into like Ashayana Dean's work, which has been coming through a lot lately, and that's part of some of the stuff I wanted to talk about today. The energy is like speeding up, so if I'm like stumbling over my words, I'm going to try and slow it down. But yeah, so... And again, I'm not saying this is like the end-all be-all definition by any means. This is just what's coming through at the moment as an imprint of that number that I've been feeling and seeing. But I always encourage, as like an open dialogue, to please like, comment or say something if you feel called to, and expand that. Yeah. Okay, what's next? Okay, I wanted to say this too. I don't know why, but lately I've been really feeling called to like watch interviews and like roundtable discussions of like people in the entertainment business and actors and singers, and I don't know, I don't know why, but I have been. And there was this interview that Billie Eilish, who is a singer, if you're not familiar, she was talking about like a really, now I guess it's like a really hit song. I actually don't even remember which song it is, to be honest, but and she was like thinking about like, oh, like my time's over, I'm done with, you know, I've had some success, like I'm out of here kind of thing, like I'm out of ideas. And I think she was like approached to do something and asked her to come up with some lyrics, and she was working with her brother. Anyway, long story short, she basically was like sitting around all day with her brother. I feel like she might have said it was a rainy day, I'm not sure, but nothing was happening, and they were just like, oh, nothing is happening, this is a waste of time, I'm done. And then I think her brother was like, wait, don't go yet, hold on. And then like something happened, like a breakthrough happened, and then boom, the song just came rushing in, and it was like very well received by whoever she was writing it for, and you know, it was a huge success, etc. And so anyway, I'm only bringing this up because, like I was saying earlier, when I was like super indecisive again out of nowhere, I think there's this, I only want to speak on this in terms of my own experience, and I'm not here to like say or discount if anyone else is saying something else. What I'm trying to say is like, I know there's a lot of talk of like, you know, always keeping positive thoughts and always, you know, when you're tuned into the source, you never run out of ideas and the creativity is always flowing. And that may be true for some people. And if it is, that's amazing. Wonderful. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're not someone who feels that way all the time, 100% every single day of every moment, you know, like the hope is not lost. You're not doing anything wrong, in my opinion. It's just like, I feel like for me sometimes, like this morning when, and this early this afternoon, when I was just kind of like, I felt like a little bit aimless, like I was just wandering around, it actually like wound up inspiring me now. Like when I was doing it, I was kind of laughing at myself, like, what am I doing? I'm just wandering around, I don't know. I was a little, you know, in my head. And then in between, I like came to a point where I was like listening to a few songs that got me out of my head, and that really helped. And I like put on a little bit of makeup today and just like got myself, you know, like I just was kind of interweaving in and out of that overthinking phase. And then all of a sudden I found this place that I really like, and I kind of have been there a few times, and I was like, oh, I should probably try something new, you know, but like I went and it was really, really lovely. And then I came back to where I'm staying, and all of a sudden this video I was watching, I was so into it, and like I couldn't find it anymore. It's like I clicked out of it by accident, and then everything I Googled, like it wouldn't come back. And I'm like, what is happening? And then I found this other video by accident of the same speaker, and then it was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted to talk about today. Like things that I was feeling, and then I listened to some of that. And anyway, so it got me exactly where I needed to go. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, from my experience in that story that I heard about Billie Eilish, like, yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of pressure from the community right now of, you know, manifesting and always being positive and always like doing the right thing. And sometimes that can put a lot of pressure and like, you know, make you feel like you're not in alignment, or you're behind, or off track, or, you know, negative, or all these different things. And I guess what I really want to say is like, take a breath. And like, I was watching some stuff also about, this is going to be very embarrassing for me perhaps, but I was really in the mood to watch Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know why, but I was. So I put it on, and it was just like, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I do love to travel. Sometimes it gets you out of your head and, you know, out of your comfort zone. Oh, I just heard like a motorcycle speed up. So maybe someone here is like thinking about traveling, or maybe like a surprise trip is going to come in, or maybe you're just going to like, yeah, something about traveling happening sooner than you think. Feels like the message. Anyway, and you know, the first place, if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, it's Julia Roberts, she goes to Italy to like refeed herself. And I feel like that's so important because this is a whole other topic, but the idea of refeeding yourself, you know, can be literal, and it can also be a little bit more of like an emotional, spiritual thing, like refeeding refeeding your physical body, refeeding your, you know, emotional state, your whatever it is. Take it how it can apply to you. But, and then, you know, it was like set up, and then she went to India, and it was more about like discipline and tuning within, and you know, and then she goes to Bali, and it's like where she falls in love, and, you know, opens her heart again, and she still incorporates the other things that she learned into this last phase of the movie. But what I'm trying to say with all this is, yeah, like once we tune in and click into our, like, trusting our own intuitive guidance in that way, like, we don't have to worry that if we fall into some of these cycles that maybe are not quite in alignment with what everyone is saying that we need to do all the time. Like, it feels like it's this perfectionist thing that can actually maybe deter you from, like, just living in the moment and embracing whatever's coming up, even if it does feel a little bit I don't know, perceived as negative. That's just what I'm hearing right now, so I just wanted to share it. Okay, so this brings me to the next oh, here it is. Okay, I was looking for something. Honestly, I didn't know what I was looking for, but I just had to scan the page until I found what caught my eye. Sometimes that will happen, and maybe this is something that's happening to you, where it's like I'm looking at something, I can't focus, and then all of a sudden something will jump out at me. You know, whether it's like something you wrote down, or if you're out, I don't know why I'm getting this reference, but if you're out to eat and it's like the whole menu won't focus, and then finally something focuses, it's like that grabs your attention. And again, take this, it can apply in different ways, but there's something about that, like all the other things seem unimportant. I heard the word nonsensical. I don't know why I heard that, but yeah, it's like you can't quite focus, and then something jumps out at you. It's like, oh, that's it. So it's like your physical body is like tuning into your consciousness alignment to be like fuzzying out the things that maybe aren't so necessary right now, to help you hone in on what's jumping out at you and what like will best serve you. That's just a side message I didn't expect, and I looked down and saw 33 on the timer. Okay, so what I wrote down was cloud scrying, and I know I talk about that whenever it comes up for certain audio recordings. So I had this experience, I want to say 6 months ago, but it could have been like 3 months ago. I really don't remember, but it was within the last 6 months, when I was staying with my friend in Philly, and I was just sitting on her back deck or standing, and I happened to look up in the clouds, which I do quite often, and I saw this like sequence of numbers and letters. I honestly don't remember what they were. I wrote them down, and it was in my old phone that I no longer have, and didn't save any of the backup like cloud storage or whatever. But anyway, that sent me on this, like, it felt very significant, and it sent me on this like mini quest. And I remember asking, you know, my team, I always call them my team, my spirit team, my high self, those aspects, and I was like, yeah, this feels significant. Like, what can you show me about this? Why am I seeing this? You know, I was just asking those questions internally. And then I remember I was led to read an audiobook. I actually don't think I finished it, and my apologies, I don't even remember what book it was. It had to do with the Kabbalah and astrology, so I could look it up later and see if I could find it. And they were talking about like DNA sequence and genetic coding. And that is exactly like when I saw that, like my whole body was buzzing. I was like, yes, this is it. And this is what I was feeling. And, you know, so I went through that book, or most of it. And like I said, that was months ago. And it always just kind of sat with me. Like, I love to research different things on these topics. And today, when I stumbled upon that one video I was talking about from Ashayan Dean, she happened to be talking about fire letters. And so the fire letters, in reference to what I'm about to say, she mentioned that it was connected to the Enochian ancient. One second. I wrote something down and I cannot read my own handwriting. Oh, Hebrew. Yeah, the Hebrew letters. So she was basically saying that these fire letters have been spoken of or recognized through different traditions. And she was saying the Hebrew language recognized it. And she's like, I think she said something like it wasn't necessarily called like maybe not called, but like labeled through the connection to DNA. It was more like just known, or just, you know, expressed through the time of the expression of it. It wasn't maybe like those exact wordings. And then the connection through the Enochian language. And I've had a really deep interest in Enochian light language, and I can't remember if I talked about this before or not on YouTube either. Wow, my memory right now is not doing great in terms of this. But anyway, one of my first connections to Enochian light language probably came through maybe 5 years ago. And I've told a story in another video about my connection to seeing light language and how I discovered that. But yeah, it was something specifically about Enochian light language that really, once I tuned into that and started to, you know, research a little bit more on that, and John Dee and Edward Kelly and that whole connection, then I was led to other people who were speaking of this. There's a couple who speak on Portal to Ascension a lot. Their names just escape me. I cannot believe it. I've probably mentioned them before. They're really amazing. They wrote a book called, I believe, The Keys to Enoch. I think that's what it's called. I don't know why I can't think of their names, but I always say they seriously look like they stepped out of a 17th century. I made that century up, but like one of those century paintings, you know, just very interesting people. But anyway, they talk a lot about this topic, so maybe you've come across some of these people I'm speaking of, even though I can't remember any of their names at the moment for some reason. But the whole point of me bringing this up is, and I keep making different points of this in the last couple of videos I've been talking about, like connecting dots. And so yeah, anyway, and you can see like how some of these topics that come to us, like they unfold different layers over, you know, weeks, days, months, years, decades. And so I feel like there's a lot of a collective energy of people like having these moments of connecting dots and stuff. And so what really caught my attention about the fire letters, I actually recorded like 60 seconds, I think, or something like that, of an audio clip of Ashayana speaking, and I'm going to try and integrate it into the end of this video, so stay tuned to keep listening, because she does a really good in-depth for the 60 seconds of some of the phrases that I'm going to speak of. So if you want to know more, Lisa Renee, I always talk about her, the Ascension Glossary. She also talks about oh my god, something is like really coming in fast because my words just keep getting tongue-tied and like so sped up. So I do feel like there's something coming in, and it could be like a connection to your own, like I'm hearing like internal like data processing, like your own mental processing, your own like comprehension can be speeding up. There's something like that. Your systems are going through these upgrades. Like we always talk about like cellular DNA activations. Like I feel like there is the speeding up of that for, you know, the people that are drawn to listen to this. So yeah, so I'm going to add that clip that I recorded. I'm sorry if the quality isn't great, and then I'll also post that video link of her in the bottom of the description box in case you're interested in like a way deeper dive. And I have to be honest, I've been really like trying to figure this out as I go. Like I said, a lot of these topics and clues and phrases and words will come to me in interesting ways, and then I'm led, and I've talked about this in other videos, I'm led to then external sources to go into deeper depth of what it is that I'm seeing or feeling or experiencing. So I'm just doing my best to like kind of bridge together what comes through my own knowing, some of the external sources that if you want to go deeper, and then, you know, I feel like from that there will be like born new ideas, new processes, new things. I don't exactly know what they are yet, but I have to be honest, for a long time I've been so hesitant to talk about these things because I was so nervous about, like, you know, stealing someone else's information by accident, or I'm like, you know, why is it not just all coming through my own inner knowing if that's the case? And I am always shown, like, you know, if someone's already done that legwork and it's something that I'm hearing all this beeping outside, if that coincides with your own, you know, inner knowing, and you're, you know, you're here, meaning me and whoever's listening to this, to maybe bring through a new aspect of it, or bring it through in a new way, or put your own energetic signature within it. It's not about like, and I'm seeing 5 of Wands in tarot, so it's not about like competing or who was here first, you know. It's like we're all weaving different unique perspectives into this newness. So I don't know why I just felt like I wanted to talk about that. It felt really important. I think just because it's something that I've really been experiencing so deeply for so long. So I imagine that I'm not the only one. And if this does not apply to you, then that's great. And maybe you know someone who's going through this. I don't know, but it just kind of wanted to come out. And I wanted to kind of just give a little bit of an explanation before I bring up this topic, because I'm not sitting here saying that I know every single thing. And, you know, I do feel things deeply and I have this internal knowing, but sometimes I don't have that like specific mechanical verbiage to explain every single detail. But I do my best to, you know, provide resources. And like I said, if you have any questions or want to know anything, I'll do my best. You can ask me to share the resources or inner knowings, or, you know, whatever it is, if they're not all provided in this one transmission or video. And that's another thing, the word transmission. I noticed that I've been putting that on like every single on every single audio or recording video that I post. That's just what I've been guided to do. And Asha Nadine, actually, it's funny, last night I stumbled upon another one of her videos, and she was talking about what the word transmission means in terms of like the like electromechanical chelantic stream that comes through. And I hear a lot of people, you know, in these spaces talking about transmissions, and I've been using that word because it is a mix of, like, it feels like an encoded stream like around me when I bring through these audios. Like, yes, there's words that are coming through, but there's like a light stream and an energetic transference. Like, there's so much that's encoded and embedded within it. And so she does a much better job than me at explaining this, so I can you know, try. And Phil Gruber is another person who I think is wonderful, and he talks a lot about this stuff too. So yeah, these are just some people that can help. But that's like my understanding and my, at least at this current juncture, of how like a transmission comes through. It's like, that's why sometimes I say, like, it's not even always just about the words that I'm saying. Like, if you just kind of close your eyes and let other senses of like your body and other, you know, parts of your subtle body to receive into it. Of course, only if you're drawn to this. I'm not saying that everyone has to do that. Just if you are interested, then yeah, you can just kind of tune in and feel through it and see what it opens up within you. So that also felt like an important aspect to bring through. Okay, so back to the fire letters. So what I wrote down, the fire letters, the arrow underneath it was DNA sequence. So the DNA sequence through the fire letters. And so there's another phrase that came through Ashana Dean's presentation was flashline sequences. They all seem to be somewhat interchangeable, and again, the connection to the Kabbalah and the Enochian light language and the angelic. I always get angelic consciousness, so I feel like I have this huge hesitation to talk about angels in any way or angelics, because I remember someone, I wish I remember who it was, and I happened to see this a few times, where the word angel was actually supposed to be originated as angle, and somehow it got like twisted into angel. So it's like the angles of light. You know, and if you go into sacred geometry, or what they say is essentially like the coding behind everything in our reality, our holographic reality, it's like the angles of light that make up different sequences, right? So I do think that the angels have these, it's a consciousness, you know, it's like this level of inner knowing and perceiving through different dimensional angles of light. I mean, that's like kind of the way it's coming through right now. I know I'm like oversimplifying this, but anyway, so these fire letters, like when I was cloud scrying and I saw this coding, and I remember like touching my body and feeling like connecting the dots to these different experiences that I've had, and remembering like why I was so interested in understanding like epigenetics and DNA sequencing and coding. And I've talked about this in my last video, I think, or maybe the one before that, how like, you know, those of us tapping into these topics, like, no, I'm not claiming that I have all of the answers, but I've been so interested and wanting to bring about these conversations, because I think a lot of us who are tuning into this have these etheric templates that we're doing our best to anchor into this realm, into this reality. And I think the more of us who can connect into that can you know, connect more of these dots. And so I feel like that's a lot of the, at least currently, the drive of why I want to start talking about these topics. And like I said, it stopped me for a long time to talk about it because I don't have all of the answers. But I do feel, like I feel it so deeply, that there's something to, I'm hearing like the realization. So like, again, those amazing people who have come first and put out this information, and, you know, however they got it, whether it was a mix, like for me, and like I said, it's always like a mix of my internal, you know, astral experiences and meditations and channels and all these different amalgamations of processes and scrying. And then, you know, I'm led to look into external sources. I'm not saying that's everyone's process, but I'm really guided often to talk about the process of what I'm doing. And I heard something from Asha Dean last night or today when she was saying like, oh, like this was like probably 20 years into her speaking. And she was like, I'm so sick of talking about myself and my process. Like there's plenty of videos out there, and go find them. And I guess for me, like this is really new for me. So the process feels important. And yeah, maybe I'm sharing this because someone themselves is going through this. I'm not quite sure, but I'm just trusting what's coming out. So anyway, as I was looking at these different phrases and writing them down, I wrote down flash line sequences, and all of a sudden I was writing on a white paper, and I saw these lines, like I guess you can call it psychically, even though it was on the page and it was like moving, and I see these all the time, but they like showed up right kind of, they almost look like the I Ching, like those type of lines, but they were ultraviolet light and this like bioluminescent electric blue color, which are two colors I see quite often, and they were like flashing through these words as I was writing flashline sequences. And I remember whenever I see them, I've always asked like, what is this? Because I see it in different variations and different ways. And I remember my friend, and if she ever listens to this, she'll know who she is. Her and I would channel for each other, and I kept seeing this like, again, it kind of looked like the I Ching. But it's funny, at the time I was studying all these different divinatory practices, and I had never come across the I Ching. And then I remember when I tried to explain to someone, they're like, oh my God, did you ever look up the I Ching? That's like what it looks like. And I was like, actually, no. So it could be connected to that. But she was saying it's a home portal. And I was like, a home portal? This is so interesting. And it started off like very small, and then it would get bigger, and then it would like, I would see it on walls a lot. And then it started to like come off the wall and like shape shift and move around, and I would see different like entities come through it in a way. Anyway, so when she said this home portal, and I sat with that was probably like, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And they say like home is where the heart is, right? So there's something about the stargate of the heart that's coming through as well. And I posted something this morning about the like 13th stargate, and I also talked about that yesterday. So I feel like these things are all starting to kind of weave together, but we'll see how this continues to play out. Anyway, so the flash line sequences, and then when I saw those lines come through all the phrases I was writing down, especially when I wrote down flash line sequences, it then came through to the DNA sequences, and how the more that we sort of like, I guess, demystify some of these, I don't know why I keep hearing like buzz phrases or buzzwords. And I'm hearing like the feeling body is being integrated within this. So and the word mechanical is coming through. So yeah, we can like sit there and like try to write like I was doing. I was writing down, and I was re-listening to this one definition that Ashana Dean was giving, and for some reason like I couldn't regurgitate it, and I didn't know why. So I was like, let me just record this, I'll add this in, and people can listen if they want to, so there's something about that. Like, instead I was guided to just do that and then feel into it and then bring through whatever is coming through this transmission, in terms of like whatever is needing to be like remembered or activated within your own stream, that will then bring through the next inspired transmission, maybe for someone else or something else. So yeah, not at all where I thought this was going, which I feel like I always say, but it still surprises me. 47, it's another number that's been coming through a lot lately. But I think with that, I'm going to actually end. And like I said, I will attach that clip of the audio that I took of Ashana Dean speaking on fire letters, if you want a little bit deeper of an explanation. And there's like a lot of controversy, like any of these topics, around Ashana Dean. And my advice, even if no one asked me, is to just, if it feels good, take it. If not, then maybe it's not. And I know a lot of people have said that she's gotten hijacked, and there's so many things about that. And I know I always kind of struggle with that, or at least I used to, more of like, is this for me? Is this and now it's just kind of like, if it feels good to me, maybe that's the moment I need it. And sometimes things will come back around if maybe in that moment that's not what I needed. So yeah, I just wanted to add that as well. And that goes for anything that I say to you or anyone else that you listen to. I'm just scanning the page to make sure there's anything else. Oh, and I will link that video. I wish I had the other video that I was listening to. It was about the crystal body and the differences. Maybe I'll just do like another transmission about that at some point, about the difference between the crystal body, because I always talk about the crystalline DNA, for our own cells, and then like the planet itself. And really then we can take that out into like the solar system, and some of the teachings in anthroposophy, and then expanding through what I'm starting to see people talk about the morphogenetic field a lot. And my understanding, at least through Ashana Dean's work and Phil Gruber, is like this 15-dimensional time matrix of our universal holographic experience. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm going to keep going because there's so much more to say, but I think I'm going to end it there. And these are just, some things that I've been sitting with for a long time that I've been really wanting to just like open up lines of discussion. So if you got this far, thanks for listening. And yeah, feel free to share anything that came up for you. And again, my apologies for the loud snorting, although I shouldn't apologize because that's just the way that he breathes. Okay, thanks.
I want to say one more thing about the 5-letter sequences that are really the core of the DNA imprint. Remember, 5-letter sequences are scalar patterns. The manifest chemical components of the DNA are the chemical translations of those 5 letters, or at least the ones they're able to perceive with our equipment of identification. There's a whole interdimensional spectrum of DNA chemical translation. They're not able to see that. Anyway, so we have the 5-letter sequences of each DNA strand correspond to each dimensional band. Each dimensional band in that whole structure, morphogenetic structure, 15 dimensions, each dimensional band is a scalar grid, and it has a specific amount of scalar patterns. Each dimension has 12 subfrequency bands, which means it has 12 flash line sequences that we talked about before. Okay, these flash line sequences are really what the DNA is, the scalar patterns of the DNA.